I'm having to start versioning this talk because every time I give it, it changes a little bit. I did not update it for this one, but this would be like 2.2, I think, at this point. Thank you, Phil, so much for the introduction. I think I met Phil over a decade ago. I never dreamed that he would be introducing me here at Pixel Pioneers. This is my first Pixel Pioneers. How many out there are Pixel Pioneers first-timers like me too? Oh yeah, there we go. Welcome to the party, everybody. I love Bristol. I'm very happy to be here. Who here, it feels hot even right now? Thank God, I thought I was getting menopause. I was like, it's a little early for that, but okay. If it gets too bad, I will rip the blazer off at one point, because despite the fact that it is a linen blend, that is doing absolutely nothing right now. So let's hope not, because the AV guy is going to be like, but I got that microphone perfect. Okay, I'll stop, I promise. Okay. So, just about a month ago, Config, that's Figma's big conference that it does, they had their London edition just a few weeks ago. And a director of a design org in Paris reached out to me for lunch while he would be in town for this conference. And I was like, ooh, design director, yeah, fancy, let's do it. Let's meet at German Gymnasium, because it's easy to get to from where I live in London. And I'm sorry, by the way, for being so American throughout this talk. I am an American werewolf in London. I also have the autism, so like, just deal with me being abundantly too much information. I apologize, but I'm not sorry. So we sat down, and I was like, oh God, are you French? We're eating German sausages and things. He's like, no, I'm from Bavaria. I'm like, oh, thank God. I dodged that faux pas. He wanted to talk to me specifically about ambient UX because I mentioned it in version 1 of this talk. I was like, wait, you were watching YouTube? You saw a video? What? He said, no, his agent had recommended that he reach out to a group of people. He'd said, I'm going to be in London for Config. Find me some folks I should be talking to while I'm there. And it was like, I read the transcript on YouTube, and this person said they're from London, and they mentioned some of the topics you're interested in, so like make a point of eating food with them, and we did. But the point is, that would never have happened. I have been working on the web for 2+ decades now, and this is the first time somebody has specifically come from another country and made time to speak with me because I gave a talk and mentioned something niche in a completely different community. That's never happened before. So things are changing already. I'm Rachel Lee Nabors. I've worked with Mozilla on Firefox's dev tools, the W3C on web standards, Microsoft's Edge browser, and even on React. You may remember me from reactnative.dev and react.dev. Some people had babies during the pandemic. I had 2 websites. Now I run my own little consultancy thing. It's a nice way of saying I have a logo and I'm just fucking around being unemployed. You know, in the Bay Area, you never ask people what they're doing because it's rude, because nobody can really answer it. It's like we're all just waiting for more money to be dumped upon us. I'm kidding, I'm not from the Bay Area. But similarly, it's kind of difficult. It's like, I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. Some of it pays. Anyway, I'm working on a super secret side project, which I'll let you get peeks at later. But anyway, I love the web because before my big tech career, I was an award-winning cartoonist making comics for teenage girls, and I published them on the web with a platform that was supported by ads. And one thing Bibi didn't mention in her previous chat, it's something like, when creators make things and put it onto the web, whether they're selling through a platform like Amazon or through, you know, in my case, an iVillage website, they only receive a small fraction of the value that they create. We're talking 40% of 40% of 40% of the revenue that their things make. They are not receiving the full sum total value of what they've created. And I got a very small sliver of that. It wasn't enough to get jaw surgery on, so I got into web development. I built websites to promote my comics to teenage girls, and it turns out people would pay me much more of my value for that than they would for the 400,000 teenage girls reading my comic every week. Okay, so anyway, I loved that website and getting all those teenagers together. This is it. It was in Drupal, Drupal 6.5, I believe, and it was called Manga Punk. And it brought young women around the world together who loved manga and comics. And that's how I got started in this cozy web that we used to have, where all the websites didn't look exactly the same. The internet used to be a network of computers that let you keep in touch with family and make new friends and work and chat and play games and share photos. And then something happened. Platforms happened. Oh, and I'm sorry, the white here. I'm sorry for everyone who's noticing the big snow flashes. I heard that. I didn't have time to update all of my slides so that they wouldn't blast you with suns and then plunge you into the dark of night. Bear with me, folks. I'll try to warn you. So platforms happened. We have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Amazon. People moved off their blogs and their forums, and they started moving increasingly onto platforms. They were usually lured over by promises of grants and monetization, et cetera. But they ended up becoming hostage because, well, all their content was there and all their viewers were there, and the platform could do whatever they wanted. And this process is called enshittification. It's coined by Cory Doctorow, and it describes the life cycle of platforms from Amazon to TikTok, and we're going to break it down. I think it's important because this always comes back to haunt us. It's a natural pattern, like prostitutions, like humans everywhere enshittify the things that they create. There is no culture on the planet of Earth that is not subject to enshittification of the things that it produces. So let's study this human phenomenon. So Facebook ads. First, step one of enshittification, acquire the most users you can. Use the Walmart principle, just dump all the money, take a loss to acquire users. Get everybody on your platform. Make cool features that are very expensive to maintain, like Twitch. Acquire as many as you can by directing any of your profits or any of your capital to acquire the users, user acquisition. Then you want to attract suppliers. You want to get the content creators. You want to get the independent publishers. You want to get the drop shippers. You want to get them all. You want to get the crafters to come to your platform because you got the users, you got the people who are going to give them the eyeballs and the traffic they're going to need or the purchases. Great. So you offer them really good deals. You offer them really low Prime discounts, overnight shipping, prestige, fun award ceremonies. Oh, definitely the awards and the VIPs and all the little YouTube and GitHub stars, placards you can. Then once you've got them both there, then you take all your profits and you divert them to your shareholders. Those projects get to fall apart. No, but you're not allowed to call me. Stop that. You're not allowed to call me when I'm talking. So popular, random calls all the time. Now, so when you get there, once you have all the publishers using Kindle, and you don't have Borders or whatever Barnes & Noble's e-reader was, that's right, you'd be like, now we want to charge you 50% just for being on the platform. And if you publish on someone else's platform, it's going to be a higher cut that we take too. And you get to do that because now you have all the power. You have the supply and you have the demand. And that is what shittification answers the age-old question of what comes between collecting socks and a profit. It is collect suppliers. Guys, don't watch South Park. Come on. You laugh at every other thing I've said. Now, so platforms promised ease of consolidated interactions, but to keep users captive, they purposely lack interoperability, holding content and products hostage behind pricey or no APIs. Even your own content, they don't want you to get it. Twitter doesn't want you to download your own information. Neither does LinkedIn want you to have your own social graph. This means that to get anything done, we have to flip between like a bajillion different platforms. This is me trying to keep up with the web agent community, and I'm just collecting. This is actually when I was doing some work for a client. What I would do, wake up in the morning, see what's happened, what's new in the web agent world. I've got this whole web agent news folder full of pages I'm gonna visit. I'm gonna copy the information down into a spreadsheet so that someone else can look at it later. It's very painful to have to switch between this. And If I wanted an aggregate experience, well, guess what? Either we have to merge all of our other users and suppliers onto one platform, get grandma and your bestie to use Facebook, or like the web previously, we're just all going to use Twitter. And then, like that makes it a lot easier to do your engagement. So either we become recruiters for a platform, or we end up paying yet another platform to aggregate those things for us. This is me paying Buffer just so that I can post to 5 different platforms. It doesn't do anything for replying, but it does save me a number of tab switches. But now for organizations out there that can't afford their own platform or APIs, they are reduced to dumping their information online. And many EU governments end up doing this, where it's like there's some tiny web page that lists all the doctors in a county, and the other county has a completely different web page. If you need that information, you end up doing scraping. Scraping is who here does scraping? Who has had to do scraping? Yeah. You don't like to admit to it because it's a dirty word, but that's what happens when you don't have APIs. I mean, but, like, can the Battersea Dog Rescue make an API? Would the people who need that information know how to use an API? No, but these puppies need homes. So maybe, they can email you a list of things, because we can still use email, or maybe they'll post it on Facebook. But the enshittification runs deep. If the internet is a vast sea of unstructured content with spotty and clunky interop at best, why are we still using a browser built by an ads company to navigate it? We're going to talk about Chrome here. I already know we have some Chrome folks in the house. Chrome/Google, they hire lovely people. So this is no slight against the awesome people who work on the Chrome team. But I do think we need to talk about Chrome. So Chrome owns 70% of the browser market. And it hasn't really shipped any major user experience changes in the past 5 years. There's no way to just view an API endpoint for people who want to go to Battersea Dogs. Arc shipped a sidebar. Firefox shipped a sidebar. Chrome does not have a sidebar, even though people really like the sidebar. 5 years, 70% of the market, no sidebar. Currently, why would you invest in updating that interface? Chrome might end up going to OpenAI or whoever the FTC approves. I wouldn't hand them a win on a plate. But this begs the question of who's influencing the web? What are the forces that drive the web forward? Now, remember that search is Google's top of funnel to ads. Now, ads are what makes Google the money. It's a data broker. No one talks about it, but Google brokers data the same way Facebook brokers data, and drives ads, drives commerce, continues consumption, makes the money. And those sites that host those ads, they need to be competitive with apps on the App Store. This is why there was a huge investment from Google in building Chrome. When Chrome launched, it was the best thing, because IE6 was Internet Explorer 6 was in a similar position with a large market share, and it had stopped innovating. And Google was like, oh, shoot, we can't have people stop using the web. They won't use Google. So we need to keep selling them ads. Quick, build a better browser. And they pulled out the red carpet. And that brings us to the web platform team at Google, the one that builds the APIs, the standards, engages the W3C and TC39, builds the dev tools, et cetera. They're great people. But these 4 teams at Google don't always have the greatest synergy. They sometimes have misaligned outcomes, misaligned purpose. Google, you could say, has been trying, teams at Google, not necessarily the platform team behind the web that we love, have been trying to replace the web for years. Who remembers AMP? Accelerated mobile pages? This is basically like, Google's like, hey, we see that advertising JavaScript is very heavy. Why don't we just take all of your content, put it on our domain, and we'll just preload all that stuff and give users a much faster experience for you. It didn't take off, but you could get a bump in search engine results if you actually incorporated it. And many people at agencies did. And it's okay, there's no shame in that. This is how enshittification works. You just play the game. It's a natural pattern. Search I think we have other examples. We got PWAs, but Microsoft was in on that one. I won't keep going, but the point is, the web is valuable. It's valuable to keep people looking at, and it's valuable to monetize those eyeballs. But now, currently, today, has anyone seen one of these? This AI augmented search result here. Well, it's not even like you have to wade through 5 ads to find the content now. You don't even need to visit any of those ads. You just read what's over here, but I'm pretty sure the enshittification will turn this into a bunch of ads and Google recommends, and this will be like, all hidden somewhere as a references tab or something. I know, I'm being snarky. I have, I'm allowed to do that. I'm not an employee. So search and ads in the system, they're gonna get fed, but the people who created the content that was used to generate that answer, they're not gonna get fed through advertising. And I think that's why web monetization is so dang important. You should really go check out what the Interledger Foundation is doing. At the very least, if there's one thing that you do today, please do that. We do need to get peer-to-peer payments settled, because the web is very much right now in dire need of a different way for people to get paid than eyeballs at ads. In this case, I was looking for a solution to anybody here playing Blueprints? Yes, yes, no spoilers. I actually asked it for something that I didn't name correctly, and it gave me a completely bullshit response. That is, there are no spoilers in that, but I'll keep using Blueprints throughout this. So at Google I/O, Google made it clear that it's betting on an agentic web, an AI agent web. And I think it's clear that Google has been keeping the web on life support. As I mentioned, building Chrome, investing heavily in standards and platforms. And most of the non-Chrome browsers are running on Chromium, which is their open source browser engine. But where we are right now is Google's betting heavy on AI, and AI, well, it doesn't need the web the way ads did. So this begs the question, is Chrome the new IE6? And is the internet that we've built with Google the internet that we wanted? So while Chrome itself hasn't changed much in the past 10 years, other browsers and extension creators have been expanding on what is possible. Does anybody here use Arc? Okay, sweet. Does anybody use a browser that's not Firefox or Chrome or Edge? And not Arc? Okay, this is cool. All right, this is awesome. I love it that we've got some browser diversity here, but probably all of the browsers run on Chromium. Other browsers and extension creators have been experimenting. I call these Borg browsers, like the Borg from Star Trek. We've got some extensions coming out, like this is Retriever. And a lot of these, by the way, right now focus. They hybridize AI with the web, usually around a business use case, like automation. In this case, Retriever works to do a lot of the stuff I showed you in the beginning, where I have to go to different tabs, put things into spreadsheets. Retriever is there for you if your job is put things in spreadsheets or put things in forms. And it uses an LLM, Gemini actually, and round trips and does that. But it's an extension, you pop it into Chrome, you're good to go. Opera has introduced Operator, which takes another step in this direction. It's an extension for the browser that allows an agent to interact with the web on your behalf. Interesting approach, thank you. There's this thing called Strawberry Browser, which is being built by 3 crazy kids in Sweden. And it's currently my favorite to win. I was like, yo, send me a video so I can put it in these slides, come on. And he's like, oh, yes. Here, this is how we teach Strawberry to run our reports every week. So this one's like actually able to record and replay things that you're doing to automate. Once again, there's a real focus on automating stuff you already do on a browser so that it's less painful. We already try really hard to make sure that it's not painful for people. Next, we're gonna be thinking about how to make sure it's not painful for bots. I don't know what that was. Anyway. So if you use Arc, you may have heard that Arc has been working on Dia and that they've stopped working on Arc to build Dia. Dia, they kept claiming, was like, it's not a browser. We're not going to build a browser. And I'm sorry to say, I did finally get access, and it's a browser with ChatGPT strapped to it. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is not what you said it would be. I am offended. I am offended. I said something on Twitter once where I was like, you can't just strap ChatGPT to your startup's forehead and call it a unicorn. But anyway, I don't think that's what we mean when we talk about the future of browsing the web. And I'm not going to go on about it, but I think that it's still an experimental space. And people are trying new modalities. They're trying to see what we can do. We've always said that attention is the gold mine, that everyone on the web is jockeying for people's attention, for ads, et cetera. And we've also said that we run the risk of overwhelming people, that who hasn't felt overwhelmed when opening their phone in the morning? So now we have a tool that can reduce overwhelm. And it also means that that attention is even more in short supply, which comes up to the next question, which is, do we even need a browser? If we have all these devices that can read web pages and fill them out for us, why are we even using a browser in the first place? What if we could turn any web page into an API endpoint and then just truly free the information on the web? What if we had a way to navigate, aggregate, summarize, and interact with all that unstructured content? Without a platform, without opening a browser, our agents, they would visit any site, no ads, no trackers, doing business on our behalf. Well, you could say that if the web is the pipeline, which has always been the data pipes, even for apps, the agent would be the client, the AI agent. And this is happening today. The agentic web is already here. And while it's not mainstream yet, we have evidence that this is how people are moving to access information on the web right now. May 7th, 2025, Bloomberg published an article on the Google antitrust lawsuit, and Eddie Q, Apple's senior VP of services, said, searches on Safari dipped for the first time last month. Yeah, and he attributed it to AI search providers, including Perplexity, OpenAI, et cetera, that people would get answers quicker by using these, and so they would Google for answers less. And by the way, we should point out that Google pays Apple $20 billion yearly to be the default search on Safari. Safari is unlikely to switch over to using Perplexity, although Apple might kind of pretend it's thinking about it for leverage. That's unlikely to change because that $20 billion makes a huge difference to Apple's bottom line. And this alliance is unlikely to crumble in the near future. But just be aware of that next time you search on something in Safari. So it'll soon be possible for me to go an entire day working without opening a browser. And even then, one day shortly after that, without even opening an app. Here's me looking up puzzle solutions and blueprints using my favorite personal agent, Goose. Goose is open source. It's like the best thing that Block makes, and you can use whatever model you want with it, even a local one. I love it. And here I'm just talking. I'm asking it, how would I unlock a set? Oh, sorry, spoilers. How would I unlock this one thing in blueprints? Avert your eyes if you're playing it. But this is the point. I didn't go to IGN. I didn't go to Google for any of this. My agent has a tool, an MCP tool, which we're going to talk about right now, that it's using to go online and do this research for me. And it's pretty darn accurate. All right, what is MCP? Do you know what MCP stands for? Wait, I'm telling you, never mind. How many of you before this slide were like, oh God, they're going to start talking about MCP now? Okay, for the rest of you, this is very, very important. I realize you're not going to go to any AI conferences or even listen to their pesky blogs and podcasts. I get it. Too many black caps with black logos on them. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and MCP allows you to do a couple of things. When you have an AI agent like your Claude or your ChatGPT, you can give it a tool or a resource or a prompt. So if you set up an MCP server on your website or through your basically, if you set up an MCP server, you can offer people's agents, their agents, their AI tools, the opportunity to use tools to perform actions through your server. Think like if you have an API, list adoptable kittens, you could make that available as a tool. And anyone's agent could go over and be like, I have this list adoptable kittens tool now. I'm gonna use that to answer your question of who should I accept to foster in my home now. Resources, these expose data and content from your servers to LLMs. Maybe you want to, like, for instance, make your entire body of comics available online, and you put it as an MCP resource on your server. And then there's prompts. Prompts allow you to offer users reusable prompt templates and workflows, because sometimes the LLMs can be a little silly. They don't really understand, like, I could list all of these cool cartoons in a gallery. You gotta buy them a clue. So, all right, personal and professional agent interactions. I predict they will replace browser usage substantially in 5 to 10 years. And if you're thinking, that's ridiculous, I'm being extremely generous with the timeline here. Like, there are people who are like, we have 3 years before, front-end development is gonna have to transition into UI development for these new systems. I'm gonna say 5 to 10 so you don't get scared. Also, I feel like I sound crazy when I say 3 years. I'm like, have you heard yourself? You sound silly. Don't say that. But when I look at the numbers and like the dip in Google searches on Safari, I'm like, oh God, it's coming. So anyway, we're talking about, this is the thing though, we're not just talking about the death of the browser and people visiting websites. We're talking about the death of the search engine. We're talking about the death of the App Store. As we know them, people will probably go to like MCP tool stores. They'll probably have an MCP search that they give their agent as well. I use Cavally. It's not Google. It's a different search provider. It's designed specifically for agents. Competition. This is very good. Capitalism likey. We're talking the death of the social platform, which I frankly can't wait for. And we might just be talking about the rebirth of the web. Remember, we're talking about the web, not browsers here. The web, the cozy web, the peer-to-peer web, the handcrafted web. Let me tell you more. So imagine a web that is accessible by default. You publish content. You don't have to worry about your ARIA tags or, oh my God, I didn't realize that wasn't focusable for people who have a different use case than I do. And only the biggest companies can afford to hire those people and realize this stuff. Imagine a web where, it's sad, no matter how much we champion it, accessibility has been so challenging to accommodate everyone, everywhere. And I feel like we just beat each other up about it so badly. But there's an opportunity here for a modality that would just meet the user where they are and adapt to them. I did this hackathon with a client of mine, AgentQL, which basically was a tool, an MCP tool that would allow agents to access the web and interact with it. Now they can do that on their own, but it moves fast. I'm telling you, we built the tool and then Anthropic and OpenAI were like, and now we gave them access to the web. And we're like, oh, okay, got it. Don't be that person. So Carl here made a voice-based browser that you could talk to and it would talk back to you. It could access the web. He did it using LLMs and APIs. He did this in a couple of days. This is just one kid, a couple of days, a couple of tools. Imagine what an actual team could build to rehash and understand what's on the web. And I gotta tell you, having worked on AgentQL, LLMs are capable of looking at a div that has button on it and inferring that's probably a button. They're very clever like that. Turns out humans are consistently inconsistent in their abuse of the web. All right, let's see what we got now. All right. So for decades, content champions have insisted that we work outwards from content, that we design for content, as opposed to like, you ever get a Figma file and there's like a slot for an avatar and you're like, we don't collect avatars. What's going to go there? This is a problem when we work design first, when we kind of imagine what things could look like, instead of working from like what we have out, what content we have from the user, from our side, et cetera. Now, that's understandable. Art influences the technology and they push each other forward. But we are now at a point where we can boldly build designs right around whatever the content is for the use case. There's this idea of ambient agents that kind of respond invisibly and adapt to the situation and our needs. Give an example here, text to audio while you're walking. Imagine you're walking along down the street and there's a high priority piece of content like breaking news, there's a flood in your area or a child's gone missing. And it buzzes in your phone, but you don't look down. You might get hit by a flash flood or miss the chance to really, rescue somebody. Now imagine if your agent can look and be like, oh, darn it, that's important. Let me translate this into some audio and just play that into their earphone at that moment. And imagine it able to do that of its own accord. This isn't something that has to be, approved by Apple. It's part of its natural operating system, and vice versa. Converting audio to text while you're traveling, so that you can keep reading your podcast when you get on the tube. Adaptive UX, the ability to generate user interfaces on the fly. This is an example of LCAR from Star Trek. It looks beautiful, but I don't think it's precisely usable. But the idea was that it was an interface that would adapt to whatever the content needed to be for the person to see. Right, so it adapts. This is actually quite easy to do these days. Easy. It is hacky to do these days, but we're closer to this than we've ever been before. Currently, we can create crude UI on the fly. And we're not even talking about something that's been built for LLMs. Like imagine a web design system that's been built for LLMs to use with MCP, that's got accessibility and usability baked in. Right now, an LLM can throw together some trash UI, like this, but imagine what a proper design system with an on-device LLM could do. Your entire operating system could design things on the fly. Right here, I believe I'm using bolt.new. I asked it to create a blueprints walkthrough carousel that would play the walkthrough to me as I'm playing, because I don't want to put the controller down to navigate it with my hands. I just want it to read it off to me. And it did a pretty darn good job. I don't want to take too long staying here, but just know it did eventually get there. And it was like, this is trashy, but it will work. It is better than I could have done in 30 minutes. So we are already seeing some of these things emerge. MCP UI is essentially what I just mentioned, and it's open source. It's created by an individual. It's a great time to be involved in the MCP arena. There are a bunch of people working on standards and hashing things out, and they need front-end people with experience in building design systems and user needs, et cetera, to come weigh in. For instance, MCP UI, it streams UI chunklets so that when you're having that conversation with Goose, it can actually show you a gallery or play you some music and actually add interactive, literally listed as interactive components for working with your agent. That's what that is. We have this. Now, coming soon, this one's really important. Ads models require eyeballs. An agentic model requires subscriptions, pay as you go, peer-to-peer payments. Right now, payments and monetization are the thing that the world is waiting for with agents, as well as the web. It's going to be the hero. There's this great article from Stratechery, which I highly recommend. You take a read that goes over this. I see some of you nodding. Good readers. I appreciate that you found this already without me telling you to. But for the rest of you, this is your homework. The protocol layer needs and should have a mechanism for payments. We didn't get this with the web the first time around. We wanted micropayments. Google's been the lead dog for so long and didn't do it because it wouldn't support ads. So you really should not be allowing people who have one business model steward your entire web forward for several decades. Now we're in a situation where it's like, oh, well, I guess we as the web have to come up with a way to keep the web alive without ads. Yes, we need to do that. So agents need a protocol for payments. AI should build an auction mechanism that pays out content sources based on the frequency with which they are cited in AI answers, for instance. Ads tech already does this. There are a million little micro auctions that happen anytime you visit a site that's serving adware. This technology exists. Micropayments happen in this system. Fractions of a cent for every view. it's not like the technology isn't possible. It is possible. It's just being used by one company. And we got to figure out how to make it so that we can all use it. Now, payment providers are already coming along. I saw a compelling demo of something called Skyfire, which is a startup in the Bay Area. Blah, 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 blah. I was at a meetup where they were like, how do we make the agents collect money so that people will still let us go visit the sites with the agents? Because eventually people are going to be like Perplexity, and that'll be bad. Basically, use 402s. It still exists. 402 is reserved for, gated on payment. It's out there, and Skyfire is, once again, making a proposal for how we should work with 402s. The idea is that companies could charge for the crawling of their pages by bots and agents, and this would encourage people running those systems to, of course, create caches, et cetera, be responsible, and we come up with an actually much more economical and earth-friendly web. All right. Social media could be social and personal again, with personal agents communicating with peers and loved ones and no intermediary. So, oh, you're laughing, and that breaks my heart. So, RSS, really simple syndication, a format for sharing content as feeds. Yeah, I love it. It's like a sitemap, but it streams. RSS use declined right around the time social media platforms like Facebook went and it was officially declared over in 2013 when Google retired Google Reader. Google loves to kill its darlings. I hope the Chrome team's okay. And anyway, but RSS has been reborn in a way as the Authenticated Transfer Protocol, aka AT-Proto, which is for a decentralized protocol for large-scale social web apps, and currently the protocol that runs Blue Sky, and a number of clones based on Vimeo and Instagram, et cetera. This is a really interesting place to be because it's basically, it's the same idea that you could have a social ID the same way you have an email account, and that you would use different clients to participate in a social network that you own the graph for. It's similar to Mastodon, but it's built by people who used to work for Twitter and were very good at getting Twitter to give them a grant to work from after, with the idea that one day Twitter would be owned by people who might not necessarily be so good-natured. So it's a really cool team. They do really cool stuff out of Seattle. You should check it out. On-device LLMs. This is the part I'm really excited about. I do not believe in round-tripping personal information to servers. That was for my mom when she worked on COBOL mainframes. That is not for today. We have little mega computers in our pockets. I'm pretty sure you can distill your model down to something that can do enough justice to whatever we're throwing at it. On-device LLMs will become more standard as devices become more powerful and LLMs become more SLMs, small language models, etc. I have every confidence that we do not need the sum total mathematical context of all of humanity to answer questions like, can you make this recipe for 4 people and get rid of the gluten for me? I do not think we need to be asking God for that. So Google is actually leading the way on this. Gemini is very powerful, and they've created Gemma, a little on-device LLM, and they've worked with Firebase to create an SDK that does allow for on-device LLM falling back to an off-device LLM. And I think, once again, we're seeing, what is it? Come on, come on. It's like when you build something and you have good fallbacks. What do you call that? You ship the great features, but they can always fall back to progress. Wait. Graceful, no, this would not be, it would be progressive enhancement. You could choose graceful degradation, though. You could be like, no, I don't want to use someone else's LLM, gosh. All right, I'm running out of time. I still got more slides to go, but I hope you're entranced by this because it's probably really important for you to take home to your companies. So I'm not going to feel bad about going over. I'll buy you a beer afterward. How's about that? Now, so I got to give Google some credit on this one. I've got fingers crossed, though, that open source LLMs and browsers and operating systems are going to team up and take this on as well. I want an on-device LLM for Linux. I want an on-device LLM that Firefox can use. I want an on-device LLM on Android that's not Gemma. or Gemma derivative. So there's still a lot of ground to cover, but it's being covered. I want to see the open source reverb on this one. I want to see open source participation. I'm currently working on a project in this area. I call it Bestie. If you're curious, it's a little social agent that does a better job of connecting you to the people you have scattered across 7 social graphs using an on-device LLM. If you want to talk about that, hit me up. That's crazy. You know, it's like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm building a weird thing that probably won't work and no one will pay for it, but it solves my problem. You can tell we're in a recession. So at Microsoft Build just a few weeks ago, there was talk of an internet of agents. And I mean, look at this. It's like, it's just down here, but you can tell like this is what Microsoft's freaking pumped about. Copilot, GitHub Copilot, the web, internet services, and then I guess some protocols there. Anyway, Internet of Agents is that like in the future, the Internet of Agents will be kind of like the Internet of Things, but for data, for your information and for getting shit done. Websites and Edge browser really didn't feature a lot in that conversation, which is weird because I wonder what all those agents are like interacting with. I guess directly with databases. Yeah, you guys need to get out more. All right. So what do I personally think will happen next? You can tell Silicon Valley is making some pretty big bets. I know that we're out here in the field and we're like, oh, come on, that's not going to happen. But then you see like, oh, wow, people are really not using search on Safari anymore. Oh, geez. Okay, things are changing. So here's what I think is going to happen next. I think we are going to see in 10 years a browserless internet. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, people will switch to something that accesses the same information, but does it with a different, more adaptable interface than the ones we are building right now, which are templates. We've worked on building components, et cetera, but they still very much make people adapt to the information. They ask people do that, and often poorly. We always have trouble with user experiences and helping people find the thing that they're looking for. And now there's an opportunity to build something that actually can help them do the things they need to do faster. This is an opportunity to build a web that actually serves people better than we've been able to do so far with our rather rigid templating systems. I suspect that platforms, browsers, and app stores will not be the vehicle of the future. I think we'll see a lot of different interactions and different modalities and pricing structures prototyped through these things. We'll see apps like Perplexity. We'll see Borg browsers like Dia. We will see people trying to build platforms like OpenAI. But in the end, I suspect something more like a personal agent or an agentic operating system will be the thing that overtakes them all. In this case, I think Apple and Google are the best positioned to have it out. You can tell who's winning. This is AIOS, an LLM agent operating system. It's open source. Go have a look at it. This might be the interfaces that you're designing in 10 years, if you're still in the industry and haven't taken up welding like I plan to do. But I'm not kidding. Like, the design system knowledge you have, these the agentic open source, it's not going to design itself. Where do you think the components are going to come from? You think that Cursor is going to design them? No, you're going to design them. And that is a good question, is like, at what stage will we start to engage as a community as these changes are coming? They're coming slowly, but they come in crashes when they come. So the agentic web asks, why expose yourself to hundreds of apps doing God knows what with your information when you could just use one that you control to directly interact with the people, data, et cetera, that you're looking for, without major intermediaries. It could be a return to personal feeds, a more accessible interface for more people with more modalities. The agentic web could turn into a more authentic web. That is my hope. We have a brief window before enshittification cracks on. So how do we, as providers, adapt when people have a magical answer box embedded on their machine now? All right. let's talk about assimilation here. We're not going to stop building websites tomorrow, nor maintaining them. There's always going to be that one person who's like, but I love to file my taxes using the QuickBooks. I don't trust an agent or another person to do it for me. That's the thing. We still use IRC sometimes. And, we, as developers, still use the console, the terminal, even though, I remember launching games as a kid from the terminal. My mom was like, you will not use a GUI. The GUI is for people who do not understand how computers work. You will use the command line and .exe. And so, yeah, we'll probably keep doing that. But what are the teenagers in 5 years going to be using? What are they going to be doing? So there will be people building for those use cases as well. And there are some things you can do today to make sure that your site that you're building, your skills, your team, your people are evolving alongside this and not, just getting crawled and scraped left and right. So if you're creating content, LLM-based tools, they don't read the first 5 search results from Google. They go through the first 70, or Tavily or whatever the MCP tool returns for them. They have all the attention in the world to give. So what you want to do is give them something to pay attention to. Everyone's trying to name it. I've heard it called GEO and all kinds of things. Anyway, optimizing for agents and LLMs that are going to come take your information and consider it against a bunch of other information. Be opinionated. LLMs have a lot of facts, but human beings are typically looking for opinions. What's the best? How should I approach? What do you think? Is this true? And LLMs can spin facts, hopefully, but what they like to return is opinions, like return fresh new content. And that's another thing, timely. LLMs have a fixed set of parameters that they're born with, and everything else, like from recent events onward, that has to be brought into their context windows. An LLM like ChatGPT-4 does not understand anything that has happened tomorrow, and it won't be able to answer that. If you don't give it a connection to the web, it can't tell you about anything that is happening today. But you give it a tool like Tavily, it can go and it can search through different news resources, et cetera, and see what's recent. So timely content is still important, putting a date on things. News breakthroughs, anything, fresh standards, anything that they don't have access to, that's important. And rich content. LLMs can read a video transcript, but they can't create videos quickly. So remember, I got to go to lunch at German gymnasium with some guy from Paris I'd never met before because the LLM took one look at my video transcript and was like, yeah, this is a person you should talk to. And that is important to remember. LLMs actually do like rich content. They do get access because of those accessibility features that we built. They also help the bots understand what's going on too. Bots are people, not really. Although we can talk about that in a few more years when people are asking if they have consciousness. I predict that we'll be serving our content in streams that emphasize content more than presentation, as people increasingly use personal agents to present the information to them. In this case, MCP tools and resources will be the new SEO. And when I say that, I mean, remember 15 years ago, some of you don't remember this, but everybody had like an SEO agency, help you get to #1 in the Google search results. Well, this is kind of similar. They're going to have people being like, I will help you be the thing that LLMs and personal agents love. And most of it will come down to MCP. Tools. Implement an MCP server if you offer a service or API or content. Implement it. There's this thing called NL Web. It launched at Microsoft Build. It's like an adapter to your content. It's from the creator of RSS, actually, and schema.org. You go look at the project. It spins up an MCP server. You set it up right now. It turns any site into what they call an AI-powered app, but it just makes it really easy when I say, yo, Cursor, yo, Claude, I want you to go out and look into these things. It makes it easier for them to interact with the website in the way that you choose. They're going to prefer stuff that's made available to them in the formats that they're used to over things that are on the web. So you can guide them towards the things you want to share with bots versus things that you want to share with humans. I encourage you to take control of the situation. Wherever possible, try to control the human to bot ratio on your content. Be involved in that. Don't be a victim. So also, make an LLMs.txt. This is like a sitemap.xml, but LLMs.txt is written in Markdown, tells you a whole new generation wrote this stuff. LLMs can read Markdown better than they can read XML, but to be honest, given how easy it was to build Cursor, I think it can read XML just fine. So, I don't think you can pass secret codes around LLMs with XML either. So, LLMs.txt, like I said, it's like a sitemap of the things that you want LLMs to go access. And you're like, this is where you find the documentation, and this is what the API looks like. And over here, you can find our blog. It is written by our founder. Like you use human language to explain the different resources on the site so it can give even better, more informed results to people who are looking for what you're publishing. Very important, for instance, if you build like, I don't know, a JavaScript framework. Right. And for people, for content people that might need to feed an LLM on a case-by-case basis, I actually had people ask me for this pattern at a hackathon. The ability to just copy a page as Markdown so they can paste it into the context window of an agent, or to download the whole thing. To be fair, when I was working on React.dev, people asked if they could download the whole site as a PDF anyway. I feel like you should just make this possible for human beings. Either way, but I also wonder, like, why not Command-P save as PDF and upload that? But, their users, they don't always know they can do these things. Sometimes you got to put a button on it. And LLMs definitely need a button on it. So you're like, well, this is great, Rachel Lee, but I don't want to be assimilated. I don't want the bots to visit. I don't want to partake in this. I want to be on search engines only, and I don't trust them. You know what? Fair. Why would you trust a rampant capitalist Silicon Valley monstrosity? I don't blame you. In this case, we've got other options. You can use your robots.txt, of course, to tell those bots how you want them to treat your site and its context. This is a snippet that tells OpenAI to go screw itself. It's a little ChatGPT and GPT bot included. There, you can tell this technically to all of the providers. If you follow that link, you'll find a comprehensive resource of a robots.txt and how to tell all of the bots to bugger off. But what of the bots and agents? There's so many personal agents now that will disregard those formalities. Who here has disregarded the bots.txt when they have been scraping? Pardon. Yeah, we all do it. Sometimes you're just like, God, no, I'm not doing it by hand. No, I will not. I have to go like watch Cats or something. Humans do not respect rules. So what you do is you send those bots to what we call a tar pit. Oh, I love a tar pit. Okay, so what is a tar pit? Bots who don't respect your boundaries on an expensive, you can send them on an expensive goose chase. There are tar pits out there like Nepenthes and a couple of other things. You can just send the bot on an endless quest, like Adventure Time. It just never ends. It goes on for seasons. And you're just feeding it random stuff. There's things that you can do where you can be like, I'm going to waste all of your compute because you did not respect my robots.txt. I hope you like your AWS bill. And you can be vindictive. And maybe, you know what, if the agent can learn, this can be a valuable lesson for it. Respect the robots.txt, man. So, as I like to say, make them respect your robots.txt suggestions with fierce punishment. So record that URL because it's that is the best reference I've found so far. All right, so you're not going to build websites. You're not going to stop building websites tomorrow or overnight, but there are some things I want you to keep in mind as people are beginning to ramp up more and more agents in more and more places. First off, remember that the web still needs you. The web and search engines, they're already being impacted. And independent artists, they're seeing drops in commissions. Everything is changing. Our jobs are going to change real fast. And the genie isn't going to go back in the bottle. I mean, I was there in the CSS community when React came out, and everyone was like, well, when will people respect CSS again? And Figma did export to CSS so dang well. It's like maybe it's not the big deal that it once was. Maybe we did the thing. We made it great. We made it something that was standardized and exportable. And then it got optimized and automated. And that just happens. It's also kind of a law of human nature. So things aren't going to go back to the way they were. They're going to only increasingly move in this direction. But once again, it's not the end of the web. It may be the end of the browser, but it is the evolution of the web. It's just a change in how we monetize, how we build, and how we use this great connection to other people and data around the world. And I predict that while browser use will drop, mostly to businesses and legacy user use cases, but what people use to interact over these pipes, it might not be called a browser, but it will still be the tool that people use to browse the information superhighway. And who better to build that tool than the people who've been building the browser and the websites? There will be challenges, and that is why we need to participate. We've already crossed a lot of these rivers around accessibility, around UI design, about best practices. We've done this. We know this. This is all old news to us, but to a lot of people building these things, they're like, oh my God, I had never considered I could animate the UI. Like they need help to make something that is good. We've built the design systems, the accessibility features, the gateways, the standards. We haven't built micropayments yet, but we are working on it, interledgers on it. And we are the stewards of the web. We are the stewards of the web, not an ads company. Remember that. It's just a browser. And perhaps this time around, this iteration of the web, we can create something that would help creators like younger Rachel Lee succeed without needing ads or platforms. Let's bring them those micropayments and decentralized communities and discovery. When I championed web animations, I talked about how the browser is more than a document reader. Well, I believe that the web is more than just pages presented in a browser. We are the stewards of the web, so let's step up. Let's get involved. You can join the MCP working group. It's out there right now, just like the W3C or the working groups that Google has been running for the web, et cetera. You can join the @Proto working group as well. These are all open. They're happening right now. There are a bunch of geese on them who don't know much about networking and all the things that we've done because we've been doing this so long. So go, buy them clues. Influence on-device AI features and web standards. Yeah, Chrome's putting some features that on-device AIs could use in the browser. Go there, go look at what they're saying, see what's happening. If you have opinions, voice them. Now is the time. This is the stage in which you step in. All right. Okay. You can find all my socials there. And if you want to continue, if you found this enjoyable and you're like, I want to continue listening to this person go off the rails about how the web is changing, you can check out my agentic web blog at agenticweb.nearestneighbors.com. I don't get paid for anything that is there. I just do it because I have nothing better to do with my time in a recession. But as I said, I'm gonna actually go back and I'm gonna end on this one. I encourage you to get involved and to be the wave that brings in the new form of the web. Thank you.